it's not becoming a first world country like Israel, a country which has done so much in so many areas, to have its entire eastern border, its longest border, kind of up for grabs. Who should decide this issue? The UN, the Quartet, the United States? If anyone other than Israel decides this issue, I'm quite sure no one in Israel will be happy. So for Israel to kind of punt on this thing, it frightens me, because it can't possibly lead to a good outcome. And when the time comes, the longer you wait, the more you want to say, look, this is our land, we're not giving it up, which some politicians have said, and you can say it, but it's hard to get taken seriously when you have a whole separate set of rules for what they call the West Bank. It's
right.
It's not sustainable. I hate to use that word because people say, well, it's been going on for a long time. 57 years in the Middle East is a second, right? So
right.
It really isn't sustainable. It's starting to fray. It's getting worse and worse. We see how American support is fraying. We see how the next generation of Americans are not going to be supportive of this. Democratic Party is moving away from Israel. Israel's got to address this issue pretty quickly, responsibly, but quickly.
And the way to address it is to speak with clarity and to have clarity of mind, to have clarity of vision. So, one vision is cut up these places and create them into a Palestine and have two states living side by side. But that has been debunked. It's been disproven that could happen. And not only that, the Gaza exercise, the disengagement where Israel left Gaza Strip, gave it to the PA, that became soon the Hamas ground. And the Hamas used it as a forward base against Israel. That's exactly what's going to happen in Judea and Samaria. I know very well, especially from Hebron, which is a Hamas-dominated city.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have a Hamas-dominated city in control of Hamas, south of Jerusalem, controlling the highlands. Because it's also important to say that maybe this is not the rationale to hold on to Judea and Samaria, but it's important to know that it is the high ground. It is a mountain ridge that controls the lowlands below it. It basically is the controlling area of Israel, militarily.
It's the equivalent of the Golan Heights for the north.
That's right. Okay, so the question is, and you said it, it's easy to be pundits to talk about the problems, but your book, I think, tries to begin to address solutions moving forward. And we think the solution is simple. We think the solution is simple, which is look at the Middle East. Here's a region of the Arab world, but here this small piece of land belongs to the Jewish people. That's true geographically, it's true historically, it's also true in terms of the Bible, in terms of the Christian text, and also even in terms of the Quran. People don't know this, but the Quran itself basically lays out that this land belongs to the Jews. Now, then the question becomes, if you're going to hold on to this land, you're going to so-called annex it, assert Israeli sovereignty over it, or even declare that this is the Israeli territories and we're going to continue to govern it one way or another, with clarity. So what do you do with the Muslim and Arab population there? That's the question. And that's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, and look, this is the way I look at it in the book. The only democracy in the Middle East, obviously, is the State of Israel. The only country that has demonstrated an ability to deal effectively and fairly with its minority population is Israel. Right. Israel doesn't take enough credit for this. It's really astounding how well integrated the Arab citizens of Israel are into Israeli society. They huge penetration into the most elite universities, into the most elite professions, law, business, medicine. You go to a emergency room at Hadassah Hospital, odds are you're going to end up with an Arab doctor that's going to treat you, and they're good. Pharmacies are almost always all dominated by Arabs. So Israel knows how to be fair and live within a Western system of human rights within its Arab population. Well, if they can do it in Israel, why can't Israel do it in Judea and Samaria? It's the same people, same Palestinians. The Palestinians living in Israel, they just hit the jackpot because when the Green Line was drawn, they were inside Israel, and the ones that were outside the Green Line, were less advantaged. But why can't we bring those advantages to people who just by misfortune ended up being on the wrong side of the border? And again, we need to deal with what does it mean to vote, and how do you ensure that Israel remains one Jewish state? And I deal with it in the book. Don't need to get into the technicalities. Obviously, there are places in the world that are pretty fountains of democracy, like America, right? Where you have places like Puerto Rico, which is sovereign territory of the United States, where the people don't vote in national elections, right? Nobody accuses America of being an apartheid state. So those issues can get resolved. But, what I find, most interesting about all this, because I think this is the answer. If you go to places in Israel that are, entirely Arab cities, like, Baqa al-Garbia or Fahim, right? Which is, these are places where, there's been from time to time some, outbreaks of protest from the minority population saying, we'd like more rights, we'd like this. Some of them are right, and some of their claims are legit. But if you go to them, because we tried this when I was in office, and I think Victor Lieberman tried it years before, and said, look, guys, if you're really not happy, we can redraw the green line. And, if there's a Palestinian state, you'll be inside the Palestinian state. What do you think? What an outcry of protest to that.
Right.
They said, we never want to be outside the state of Israel. We want to be citizens of the state of Israel. That zehut, that citizenship, paper given to the Arabs in Israel is very highly valued, very highly valued. So, I think that just cries out as the obvious solution. Let Israel assert its sovereignty over this territory. Take some time. It's going to take some time. Let them obviously go through a process of weeding out the ones who want to kill us.
Right.
Right? If they want to kill us, we got to kill them first.
Right.
Okay? But I'm optimistic that most don't want to kill us, especially if they have a reason not to want to kill us, if there's a carrot as well as a stick, and then move from there. And I think that is the way. And again, it may cost some money. We have new friends that we've made over the past years with the Emirates. We'll make friends undoubtedly with the Saudis once we get the right government in place in the United States. I think those countries will be very comfortable if they understand that Israel is accepting responsibility now for the human dignity, the prosperity, the healthcare, the education of the minority population, of the state of Israel, as that might be expanded to include Judea and Samaria. What do you think about that?
I think that sounds right, and I'll tell you a little joke from the Arab world. There's a joke that goes around like this. They say an Israeli Arab visits Jordan, and he goes to the hospitals, and he's like, what is going on here? What kind of hospitals is this? You go in, but you don't come out. What's the deal with this thing? And the Jordanian says to him, well, we haven't been occupied yet. And so many Arabs recognize that Israel is a harbinger of forward thinking, of rights and decencies, upward mobility, medicine, etc. But we're going to have to do work in digging out from the jihadism that we've allowed to develop, the hate for Israel, you called it, the folks that want to murder you. It's going to take time. It's not going to be easy, and we can't whitewash that because we've allowed generations upon generations to develop this anti-Israel thinking, and that anti-Israel thinking has metastasized.
I'll tell you what I think is more important. I mean, it's incredibly important what you just said, but I'll tell you what's more important. Changing the mindset of the Israeli population.
Right. Oh, so if I may interrupt you for just a second.
Sure.
You said something before that I think is just so important, so important. You said, well, Israel knows very well how to deal with its minorities. When you speak with Israelis and you say to them this plan of one Jewish state, they say, but we don't want to rule another people. Why do they say that? I think it's just some kind of like phrase, some kind of like meme, some idiom that's been out there. When you challenge them and you say, well, why do you say that? Every power rules other minorities and knows how to do it well. We do it better than anybody. We should be able to take minorities and deal with them. What's wrong with that? Let's not shrink away from dealing with peoples and shrink away from our land. Let's hold on to the land, govern the people, and do it in decency.